Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, Rama. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Mm. Let's wait for additional 2 minutes. I just came back from vacation. Maybe Drew or Anil will join.
I think Anil is out for some time.
Oh,
Around. Yeah,
okay.
he's also on vacation. Yeah.
I think there is one open from OCP hardware management leads. We are not recording these meetings. Looks like by default option is not set to record. Um, we used to record these meetings. Is there any setting change or something?
I'm not aware of one. They run. Um,
Yeah, John Lang was asking Drew, like before I went on vacation, I added you. Are you aware of any recording change?
no, I mean, when you go to more, it says request the host to record to the cloud.
Oh,
So, uh, who's who's the host? I mean, it's an OCP hosted link, so I don't even have control over it.
I believe we're recording right now. If you look at your Zoom workplace header, it says recording. It announced,
yes.
certainly when I joined, it's recording.
Okay, thanks, Ross.
Yeah, by the way, I am from the OCP Foundation staff. So
good. Okay. So hopefully you can help us figure it out if we're not doing something right with recordings.
Yeah, thank you, Russ. I see recording is on. I think it's not uploading to the OCP website by default, I think. Russ?
yeah, I think my understanding, and I've only been at the foundation for 4 weeks now, but my understanding is that the project leads get an email after the meeting ends saying, here's the link to the recording. And then they're supposed to do the posting.
Okay. Okay, I'll sync with Yogesh, like one of us will do it.
And if you want to, and I attend most of these meetings too, so I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Drew. Yeah.
Let me know. So great. So I think we don't have Yogesh on, do we? So I do have a couple of updates for folks. So this week in the hardware management meeting, Yogesh and I went and presented. Let me pull up the presentation. I'll just walk through our presentation. But we presented officially the FMFM work, but while we were at it, I thought I would just see if they'd let me review the this effort and the poison document that I wanted to submit, and they didn't object. So we did it. We reviewed all three, and so if it's okay, I'll walk through that quickly and show you what we presented and share the good news, because it means that basically our contribution is on track, and we are now just pretty much waiting for it to show up on the website. I think we're done. So yeah, I feel like celebrating. I'm so relieved. So we did it. We pulled it off. So Yogesh and I scrambled early in the week to put this together, and late last week. So that's why we didn't do a big review, because basically we decided to, hey, let's see if they'll let us uh, include all three documents. So the infrastructure requirements, the fleet memory requirements, and the data poisoning white paper. And they did. So we quickly went over it. And so, Yogesh and I talked about the overall project, uh, and how we're working to build kind of a cohesive framework, and the sub projects fit into that sub framework. And so I drew this picture and show, the in-band error logging stuff is mainly in this part of the drawing. And then the FM work is about error logging for memories, mainly in the CPU, and then the analysis tools. And we showed that we have awesome industry participation in these discussions. And if your company's not listed and you want to fix that, we welcome, you pointing that out, and we'll add you. And then we went over the three white papers, or we call them white papers because they're not specs; they're requirements documents. So the OCP contribution process is different. And so we went over what's in the contents, and this is pretty much an excerpt of the contents of the doc. So it's nothing, should be nothing new. And we showed how the framework works, and we just highlighted that, okay, the big thing that we've added is the in-band management agent and the in-band path. And then we mentioned that we follow the OCP tenets and had some key takeaways. And we're not inventing anything here. We're just trying to summarize what we've done. And then I went over the fleet memory management doc, and so I basically said, okay, we're trying to do DDR5 initially, and today we have kind of an ad hoc thing that every server fleet operator implements, and we're going to standardize that and build a solution that's broadly applicable to anyone that wants to use a server. And I have a little bit of table of contents, and then I just said, look, we're gathering data, and we have a framework for analyzing that data. And then, of course, we include the tenants because that's required. And then we went over my poison paper, and the poison paper is a Microsoft contribution where we had a lot of help. So I credit people like Mita and Dean and Vilas and others that helped me review the document. Charlie, but I was contributing it so that we clear up how poison is used, and I'm not trying to invent anything new, and so I just said I'm trying to clear up misunderstandings, and it's supposed to be an open industry reference that anyone can look at. And so, the table of contents, what is poison, what are some common sources, and then it's tenants. And I didn't show all the tenants. You have to meet 4 of them. So I just showed 4. You have to meet 4 of them and sustainability. And so I tied the poison doc to that, and then summarized by saying we presented 3 things. They were okay with all 3 of them. They all seemed to be consistent with the hardware management charter, which was another big thing they were checking. And then I should have taken out the word mention here, but more contributions are coming. We have RAS API stuff coming that we're working on, and some GPU RAS stuff. And then we had a few backup slides we didn't cover. So anyway, that's it. The really, really, really good news is that, oh, I'm sorry, I clicked the link to my poison doc. Sorry about that. What I'll do is I'll try to upload this slide deck in the chat, or if I can put I think it may be on it should be on the website. So I'll upload a link from the Google Drive, and you all can take a look at it. All the submissions, the PDF submissions we included should be there, and we're good to go. We did it. We got the stuff out in time for the global summit. So I know maybe I got a little impatient. I appreciate your patience with my impatience, and just want to say thank you to everyone that helped push this through.
Awesome, dude.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing. Great job, everyone.
Oh, I'm so relieved. so
Thank you,
so
Drew.
so
Just,
oh
I just,
yeah,
I
go
just
ahead.
added the link that you mentioned in the chat.
Oh, sorry.
I just added the link that you mentioned in the chat.
Oh, thank you for doing that, Yogesh. I really appreciate it. And so if you click that link, I think you should be able to see the presentation. And then we have links to each of the documents in there as well, I believe. So they're just the PDF. They're not the and they will show up. I checked yesterday. And Yogesh, I had to upload the final version of the Poison doc, but they're all since we didn't get changes, I uploaded the final versions, and so I think it's just a matter of, yeah, I don't know if we have to, we shouldn't have to wait 2 weeks since these are white papers. The OCP higher level steering committee, I don't think is supposed to have to review them because they're just white papers. So I think they will show up any minute now as contributions.
No, I think we have to upload the final version, and
I've
like
already done that.
some folks mentioned, they wanted to let their company review finish because their name is on it. So like I mentioned, I'm going to hold it for that. So what I'm thinking of doing today is, and seriously, our big rush is to get them done before the global summit. I mean, those who need it already have access to it. So what I'm going to do today is to send that link one more time and tell people that, hey, like it or not, this is going public on, let's say, what's the first Monday in September.
Okay, that's I wasn't aware you'd worked out a
Well,
day.
we can wait till 8th of September, I think. We can do it on 8th of September. If no one speaks like, hey, I want to remove my name from it, then it'll just go.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I already talked to Alicia and John about that too. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for doing that.
Apologies for being late today.
Hey, Yogesh, one question. Thank you. Like, there was a question from John Lang, like, these recordings are not posted on the OCP website.
Hey, Rama, welcome back. Yeah, I saw that email. Yeah, I'll reply to that. There was, and John knows, OCP IT said they cannot support, or their automation for automatic posting is not working. I've been doing it for all three projects. It's a lot of work. So I've been doing it for all three: RAS API, hardware fault management, and FMFM. So we
Thank you.
talk about that. So far, I think we are in good shape, but we should talk about it offline.
Thank you, Yogesh. Yeah.
Okay, so with that, the other thing that I was going to mention. Well, so Yush, I think we're done with for right now with the specs, for this revision. And I had proposed digging into some scenarios just to, like work out practical applications of all the stuff we're building. And so we had talked to Mita last year. I wasn't here last week, but Mita has worked on something with PCIe that maybe we could talk about. I don't know if there are other agenda items that you had.
No, yeah, I have to. I saw the email that you forwarded, and Mita, I see you are. It must be you and Screwdriver, right? Those are all you.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's me.
So yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at it, but on that, Drew, I think you and me talked a little bit about there's this whole. So we are covering platform RAS, kind of system RAS, We are focusing on GPU RAS. We are focusing on CPU RAS somewhat started. We already have requirements for memory RAS, and we worked on RAS API interface. One area that I think is becoming increasingly complex is the storage RAS. And there are various aspects to it. Like we discussed, there's link RAS, and then there is, the storage device or media. And then there are mechanisms at the software layer.
Well, and like when we talked, I think, as I recall, we agreed that, PCI is kind of general, right? It'll be used for a whole bunch of these. And then
If
maybe
you don't mind, Drew, let me
focused.
yeah, so let me real quick finish here. So what I wanted to propose here is we have folks like Ita, Charlie from Cisco, Sakul from Micron, ample of storage solution experience. I want to just pose this question. Do we think there is value in exploring the state of affairs in storage RAS? Is it proprietary-ish? And are there new aspects? I know CXL has already kind of convoluted a little bit the caching based, caching included or caching enhanced endpoints which could work as memory or and then there's like a PCIe aspect to it which is still supported as PCI. So of course, Drew, acknowledging that there's a link aspect to it, which we do agree on that. But I just want to raise an open question: is that an area where folks think we want to go and explore? Figure out what the pain points are.
Like Yogesh, you mentioned like storage RAS, you're referring to the controllers or endpoint devices like hard disks, NVMe devices.
Yeah. So Rama, I think like we started for platform RAS, right? What are the pain points? Are there any pain points? What are the things how are the things done today? What is state of the affairs, right? Do we have room for improvement there? Do we have room for, for what we did for fleet memory, right? We asked for, hey, we need minimum this much information to be able to debug kind of uniformly across various vendors, making it agnostic to who the vendor is, right? So that's kind of where I am. I do not know the answers. I do not know really if there is a problem.
So Yogesh, storage devices are PCI Express devices. So, there's a lot of commonality between other PCI Express devices. They're the same kinds of pain points that you'd feel on any other, like, for example, NICs, PCI Express NICs, etc. Also, I do know that there is an NVMe work group, which may already be covering some aspect of what you were talking about. So, I mean, from my perspective, I would feel that this work group probably would be better served to look at PCI Express in general, because that has a big impact on any kind of devices, including storage devices.
Yeah, but PCI Express, in a sense, is more generic, right? PCI Express could cater to different types of needs, right? So you can think of CXL as a variant of PCI Express, which caters to cache coherent type of requirements. It has enhanced with that. Or on the other extreme, you can have a very basic bare minimum NIC, which doesn't have any spatial requirements. Or you can have smart NICs, which have some compute on them and some storage also. So PCI Express, of course, I agree. That's a very important critical piece of it. But what you said, actually, doesn't it apply to really everything else we did in this group. I mean, JEDEC is there, JEDEC requirements are there. We came to the problem from like, okay, to make it, open standardish, is a open standard, kind of vendor agnostic, easy for automation, easy for software development. What are the requirements from hyperscaler side?
Yeah. Like we had some internal kind of Microsoft want to. I agree with Meta, whatever she mentioned, right? For network devices and storage devices, the RAS focus area around PCIe, okay, going to actual endpoint storage, like there is a OCP storage big work stream, I think, and all the errors there is not in a particular RAS domain. It doesn't report through RAS registers. Okay, I think the storage team covers that. I think we focusing on like any gaps in the PCI. We started the work. There was some confusion, and we clarified the confusion. Like focusing on the PCIe, and the remaining work. I feel like that will bring more value. That is applicable for network devices, storage, switches. Yeah.
I think one thing that helps storage is that when like storage has always had the notion that if the disk is full, the operation fails, and so they got used to reporting failures to software, so there's less ambiguity. Where when you have a PCIe link failure, who do you report it to? It's not in the path, and so like memory errors and PCI failures they didn't have a crisp path back to software when the failure occurs, and so there was a lot more confusion about them. So that's kind of what I'm wondering, Yogesh, is maybe the storage isn't quite as mysterious.
And
I just
also
don't.
storage is more matured and it is
Yeah.
there in the industry. Yeah.
Ultimate is the data center view. If that's what hyperscalers feel like, everything is perfect there. Don't need to do anything.
Well, I didn't say it's perfect, but I mean it's understood. Like they had smart, and so I think one thing we may want to investigate eventually is, can we, like, as the infrastructure becomes more mature, today, when you have a storage problem, you probably get the smart information in band. And of course, a lot of data center storage might be behind a smart NIC. So, if you have a fake SSD on a smart NIC, uh, there is no real storage device. You have this, mysterious device that's pretending to be storage. But if you have local storage and you want to collect errors from it, we may want to think about how do we um, enable out-of-band storage logging, but I don't know if we have the right people to do that here.
I think what we are right people to do is to ask questions like, hey, are we getting this information that we need? Is smart sufficient? Maybe that is something to answer by the storage group. Do we have a super place for whatever information we can capture from smart and deliver it at the RAS API interface from where it can go to in-band or out of band? Is that something that's desirable?
I think storage logs like matured band smart is like
How do you retrieve them, Rama? Yeah, smart logs. I know they're
yeah,
pretty
they don't use zipper logs. They have their
right. So we talked about like I know umpteen number of times that So now you have isolated smart log somewhere which you need to kind of join with, correlate with. Isn't that true?
Yeah, and like Rama, one thing I can imagine is we could take whatever. So the problem today is, as far as I know, Smart is always accessed by some storage driver in the OS, or some agent in the OS. And so if we were to come up with a way to get that out of band, you could
Yeah.
just take Smart log and wrap it in CPR.
Yeah. So you're saying in-band path is already catered, but out of band is something that probably is not asked for so far.
I'm not sure the out of
yeah.
band path is there, but I defer to folks like Rama and Mita.
And that's the discussion I want to have, right? We just to poke at it. I'm not suggesting that we need something. I'm just suggesting let's brainstorm about that.
I think also there is a, like Mita mentioned, there is a OCP storage, very active work stream. I think we should
Yeah, we
talk
should
to
definitely
and
let it, because we are coming at it from, how do we debug fast? How do we create automations? How do we create common software interfaces? That's our perspective. So definitely we should leverage this storage group, Rama. I totally agree with that.
when I checked a few years back, they are covering some kind of error scenarios in the storage discussions. I think. Okay.
Yeah, so maybe we should invite them
We
to.
can take as a action and
Yeah, maybe
follow.
we should invite them to.
I agree. I think PCIe, like finishing the.
Oh no, I'm not saying that this is either or. I'm not
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I'm not
Okay. Yeah,
saying that at all. So
yeah.
PCIe definitely we need to do that. This was kind of a new
Yes, yes.
thought I had, and I wanted to bounce it off. Like, hey,
Thank you. Yeah.
is there something there? Do we think that's an area which could be a where we can improve things?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think any work we do will certainly help. As well as I think that we could even find a common uh, ground, say, between the CXL consortium's RAS working group. So I think there we handle it under the system software working group, like led by Mahesh. Uh, Mahesh over there. Uh, Natu, so the CXL spec does have a full-fledged RAS chapter in it, which speaks about the HPPR, the soft PPR, and of course,
Yeah, actually,
poison list management, viral list.
yeah,
So, uh,
we did all those commands for RAS API from CXL. That
Yeah.
particular.
Yeah, I guess, and I'm with you. I mean, like I'm a little. I think that we want to. Like, I'm not sure the CXL stuff fits into the infrastructure as it's defined at the moment, but we can work to get it there.
Okay, yeah, so let's pin it for now. We just wanted to plant that seed, and maybe a few of us can explore some more, find out if there's something, and then come up with when we started fleet memory fault management, no one saw the need for it. I just kind of proposed and started that.
Well, the memory vendors did. I mean, uh, uh, like we knew that we were replacing DIMMs we shouldn't be. So there was some support there.
Yeah, there was a lot of support there, but but that was not, we at the time we didn't think we needed a separate work stream for that. But I think it has done really good job, good work being a separate dedicated work stream.
Yeah, yeah. If you see the reason for that memory, is always like all the RAS features, majority of them, 50% are memory related RAS features. This team can like,
That's true.
yeah. Whereas storage device RAS, they just talk about PCIe and then leave it like generally.
So, Rama, really, how I see it is what we are doing here is creating a RAS ecosystem under OCP umbrella. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Yeah.
so of course, memory and PCI are the hardest hitters, right? But then I want to have and having this RAS API interface, which now brings other stuff that GPU and CPU to the same gate. We have one item, maybe storage, maybe I'm saying. Maybe that's one
Yeah,
item which we're not bringing to that gateway, right?
And I think we want to get them there, but we don't need to do much. I think what we could do is tell the storage folks, hey, we got this thing called the RAS API. Can we
Yeah.
send data through it? And by the way, we can do some pretty cool things if you want to send actions back at runtime to your devices.
Okay, so you need definition for storage commands. You need definition for storage registers or smart data in CPR. That's all really it is, right?
Yeah.
Once let's start there.
But I think that'll come. Like, I guess what I would say is let's get the RAS API out, and then maybe we can approach the storage group and visit them and
Yeah.
say, hey, we'd like to tie you into this, and then we can see what they say. And they may say, okay, we'll take it from here. Why don't you come to some of our meetings and or they may say, hey, could you help us plan this? And we
We'll
go,
do the work where the experts are. We
yeah.
don't have to, reinvent the wheel kind of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree. We want that connection. I mean, the dream is that you plug anything into a server that's silicon, and it connects to a standard interface, and we don't have to do any extra effort. It just starts. The error logs just start showing up, whether it's storage, a network device, or a SoC, a GPU, just shouldn't matter.
Drew, is there or Yogesh as well, is there a similar work stream and efforts on the networking side, as you mentioned, for NICs and endpoints and network focused?
Not so much. I think we've done the GPU work. There are a few GPU work streams, but I think that the RAS API in general is designed with any PCIe device in mind. So um, we should be able to connect it to the RAS API somehow, and so we'll have to work that out. But I don't know that we need a special solution for network devices, but if we do, say something and we'll figure it out.
Hi
In
everyone.
industry, it's mostly treated as a PCIe device, and the
Yeah.
errors generally get reported there. But there are also custom specific NIC logs. Those are each vendor, like standardizing them, like it's a little bit like you need to work with NIC vendors, like
Hi everyone. Can you hear me, Rama?
yeah.
Hello everyone. This is precisely the topic why I'm here. I've talked to Anil Agarwal last time at the OCP summit, regional summit in Dublin,
Oh,
and so he encouraged me basically to share my experience on the NIC and DPU side of things. So, and I was impressed by the RAS work that this group did. So. Essentially, I've just doing a 15-minute presentation next week in the so OCP Network Interconnects for AI. This is the virtual workshop, and I have just a 15-minute slot. Observability and resiliency in AI networking, look into NICs and DPUs, and basically this is very high level presentation. I look into the typical failures on the NIC side, the pluggables failures. There's also a bunch of PCI related failures, so degradation, and also due to MCIO extension, there's some more work on PCI that you could believe. And apart from that, there's some firmware, and apart from that, there's own sideband and out-of-band problems, especially in regards to NICs. But yeah, on DPU side, it looks a little bit better. So I was actually hoping to meet Anil and just tell him about this little presentation. So yeah, but I think this is the right group, and the documentation that you've created is absolutely great. It's a great effort.
Thank you. Well, Vladimir,
thank you.
welcome that.
Yeah, this is really good. If you want, you can present that presentation this week or next week if everybody agrees.
Yeah, I
That
was
would
going
be
to ask, when are you ready? When do you want to do it?
Uh,
This week, we are a little thin on attendance, so
Yeah,
maybe.
but maybe yeah, let's do that. And I think that we can look at the piece like so basically what we said is for our documents we're going to move the scenarios where we talk through flows and how things work together. We're putting them in separate documents so we don't hold up our white papers. And so my proposal is let's go through some PCIe flows because there's tons of confusion on them, and document the way we think the flows should work. And then what we can do is in parallel is look at things like the networking needs, and we can say, like Vladimir, I think that there's no reason the RAS API concept shouldn't work for NICs because all we're saying is you discover a thing like a NIC, you configure the RAS features on it, you log errors from it, and you drive actions on it. It's super generic, so it works for almost any silicon. And so what we could do in parallel is try to figure out with you if there's anything specific to NICs we need to do, or if just generic RAS API enablement is sufficient. So is that okay with folks if we kind of do a scenario or two while we figure this out?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea to have that as a scenario as well. But I think what I'm really sensing constantly is we do need to make more progress on the great ideas or insights we have on a couple of things. One being the PCIe discussion, and second being the scenarios that we kind of put a pin on for the time being. We need to come back to those. In the parallel, Vladimir, we welcome you to present, and then we can take it from there. We can work on that use case or the problems that we recognize that yes, this is a real problem and this is worthy of some work we could figure out at that time. We'll cross that bridge once we have the discussion how we want to proceed about making things better on that front if we need so. Does it sound good?
Sounds good. So do we want to, maybe if it's okay with folks, then we could take a look at Mita's start of PCIe scenario doc.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
Is that okay, Mita? Do you mind?
Yeah, that I haven't finished it, but I think I'd love to kind of get some feedback on especially like how we navigate writing about PCI Express. So let me share.
Thank you. And Mita, I don't think it needs to be perfect. We're just talking about the idea right now, and then we'll work through the scenario with you. Don't worry about it being ready. I mean, like we're just trying to figure out what are we talking about. What's the what do the scenarios look like, and then we'll work with you. We'll figure it out. So this is great.
Yeah. So I decided to focus on the area of advisory non-fatal errors because they're a constant source of confusion in PCI Express error world. It's also something that Anil and I have had various conversations on. So it seemed like a good scenario to highlight. So the main source of confusion is that the advisory non-fatal errors land in the gray zone between uncorrectable and correctable PCI Express errors. So that causes all kinds of interesting scenarios when we want to log them and handle them because they start off as uncorrectable errors and have a non-fatal UE severity, but then once they get signaled up to the host, they are signaled via the correctable error message. So, depending on how these errors, this class of errors is handled in the driver, in the OS, ANF reporting can result in loss of error information. So that's why I wanted to highlight this class of errors because, if we don't handle it in a specific or in a way in which we gather all that correctable error information as well as the uncorrectable error information, we end up not having, visibility into what's actually going on. So that was just the overview, and if there are any questions, just feel free to stop me anywhere. So
I had a question on this. Maybe this is tangential, but is this assuming downstream port containment is enabled, or is that not part of this?
That would be orthogonal. I mean, I am going to mention downstream port containment for one class of ANF occurrences, but DPC is actually orthogonal to ANF errors.
Yeah, I make this point here, right? So, okay, the by nature is irrespective. ANF is, like she said, no matter is the trigger, it could be DPC or something else. It is really, something that's downgraded from UE to the kind of thing. not really. And that's the whole confusion there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think I caught most of what you said, Yogesh. So yes, the confusion is that it is like kind of a hybrid of a UE and a CE in just the way it works.
Yeah, I think I commented Suke is maybe we should not convolute it with DPC, at the front end, because then it will just muddy our thinking. I think this is a more fundamental, problem, or it's not really just one use case, right? It's not like the way the question was framed, like, is it a DPC on or off scenario? This could be, on a system where there is DPC does not exist, right? That's
Yes.
kind of,
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Thanks for the clarification then on that. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, so this is just a little bit of information. I did point at the location in the SIG spec on where you can find details on what constitutes advisory non-fatal errors. But in a nutshell,
Hey,
these, yes.
sorry, I'm interrupting you. Yeah,
Yes.
thanks for just mentioning the section. I hope the diagram is not from the spec, right?
No, that's my hand-drawn diagram.
Good work. This is spec level work.
I'll put my trademark on it.
And Yogesh, back to that discussion, I want to, like I think what we're talking about here is the flow for how we use the spec. So we're not reinventing the spec, and we're not trying to.
No,
define
my
the
question was only about we are not copying pasting a diagram from spec, right? Because
No. I literally drew this on my own. And mainly I wanted to kind of draw it as a 3-level hierarchy where you have root port, and then in between you could have a switch for fan out, and then after that you have the endpoints, versus a 2-level hierarchy where you have root ports directly attached to the endpoints. So the thing I'm trying to illustrate here is that for any particular transaction, there are if there's an error, it is detected by a detecting agent, and the detecting agent could have a role as the requester of that transaction. It could be the completer of that transaction. So in this case, this is a config read non-posted transaction, trying to read from the config space of endpoint 2. So the requester being the root port or root complex. But depending on what's in between the hierarchy, you could also have intermediate receivers. So the upstream port of the switch, the downstream port of the switch, those are intermediate receivers because the packet, the TLP, has to travel through those layers. And that is kind of, depending on the role, so whether you're a requester, receiver, or completer, when you're the detecting agent of an error, the error can be surfaced as advisory non-fatal. So I would suggest kind of looking at going and looking at this section of the spec. I didn't want to add more, I didn't want to paraphrase it too much because of past guidelines. Yeah. So if it's not clear, I'm happy to speak to it though. So I wanted to jump into what are the issues around advisory non-fatal handling.
So Meeta,
Yes.
maybe I could help myself, and maybe in the process others. What you're trying to say here is a UE could be generated by any of these agents, the root port requester or switch in between, or the endpoint, which is the completer. And it could be generated for a variety of reasons, poison TLP, UR, completer abort, or unexpected, or timeout CTO, right? And any of those could be downgraded and reported as advisory non-fatal.
Correct, because the expectation is that the some other role is going to treat it as a UE. So for example, if you have a config read coming down here, and you get a unsupported request at the completer. Well, the requester actually gets a completion TLP with a failure bit in it. And so the requester knows how to handle that properly. The completer doesn't have to handle it as a UE. It'll just have to, it just has to handle it as an advisory non-fatal, because the real handling will happen up here, even though it's the same error. So
Right. So
Yeah.
it's
yeah. Okay. So part of the, some of the issues with ANF handling is that, depending on how we handle them and log them, we, if we treat them just as correctable errors, then all we'll see, and this is Linux, a Linux log line from dmessage, all we'll see is non-fatal error occurred. And with no indication of like, what UE resulted in this non-fatal error. So that's like, just you're missing part of the story there, right? So I did mention that, how we intend to log these in RAS API should also take care of the same thought process, that just because you have a correctable error message, if it's an ANF, then just saying non-fatal error doesn't really tell you much. Currently, this is how it works in Linux. And we do plan to upstream patches to fix that. So the other issue there is that when this non-fatal error, when this advisory non-fatal occurred, there's also a bit that's going to get set in the UE status for the UE that caused this ANF. Well, if the OS is not clearing that bit, then that bit just stays there until some other UE happens much later down the line. And at that time, this earlier UE is just going to get reported at that time. So, you are, reporting the error temporarily removed from the actual event. So that's, cause for confusion. And I kind of didn't finish my thought here, but this one is pretty important. For errors that provide the TLP header log, and that contains, useful information about the transaction that caused the error. The TLP header log, usually you have just one of these per device. Sometimes you have a little bit more than that, but it's a limited resource. It gets used up by the UE that caused the ANF, or the UE that was associated with the ANF. And because we don't clear that UE or handle that UE, the TLP header log remains consumed, so that when there's a subsequent uncorrectable error, you lose information of that next error as well. So, you lose information of the current error because you're not reporting it. You end up having confusion later down the line because you end up reporting it like maybe hours, minutes, days later. Not, it doesn't matter. It's not like constrained. And then that's the subsequent error doesn't have the required information either. So, because of the complexities of ANF, like some of these things, we have to watch out for. I'm just going to stop here.
So just a couple of questions. So on the dmessage output that you have there, so there's no, just to be clear, there's no additional like AER, or PCI port information where we could see the actual error type, right? From what I understand, it's just a signal
The
as this
PCI port
non-fatal.
information is there. I just blurred it out, but it is there. But
Okay.
yeah, but you're not going to know. For example, you're not going to know that this ANF was caused by a poison TLP received, or an unsupported request, or a completed abort, or an unexpected completion, etc. You're just going to know that something advisory non-fatal happened. That's the state of things today, though.
You only have
Nice.
the PDF and that there was non-fatal. You
Yes,
don't.
you have the PDF and
Yeah.
you'll have that a non-fatal error. It's a nondescript, like when you see non-fatal error, it's kind of
So
nondescript.
the TLP header from the same address would give you what happened, right?
Yeah, so on number 3, I think along those same lines, Yogesh, I think if we enable RPPIO, we would be able to get that TLP header log information. Is
So
that
our PPIO is, okay, yes, our PPIO is also a little bit orthogonal to this because our PPIO errors can get reported as non-fatals. I didn't want to like mix it up right now with ANF. But you're right, that you can get header information from if you like assign, if you choose to handle some of these errors in the RPPIO framework for root ports, you can get header information. However, that's only for root ports, right? So
even so, you are still like that would be your guess, right? There's no direct link between the ANF that you got and the TLP header log that you got. That okay, this TLP header log points to a UE event which correlates with non-ANF. That connection, I think, is still missing, right?
yeah, so what happens is that this TLP header that is associated with the UE that was associated with the ANF only will get logged when the next non-ANF UE occurs. So it just muddies the water a lot.
Long time after the original event, true, right?
Yeah. So yeah, anyway. Okay, so I didn't flush this. I kind of, this is roughly where I stopped, but there was yet another, yes, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I can see that you have incomplete sentences here. So thank you so much for bringing it out. It's very helpful and courageous.
Yeah, and I think this is like I was just hoping we could take a look at what Mita was up to and say, okay, this looks super interesting to me. I don't know about the rest of you, but
+1 actually. Lot of times, like how you program in the firmware or OS, this is always a concern topic. Thank you for bringing this up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very interested too in it. So yes,
I'm
thank you.
excited. Yeah. So okay, I wanted to see. So I asked Mita to present this because I think it's worth doing, but I wanted to see what you all think. So I'm personally pretty enthusiastic, but if anyone has concerns, let me know. But or speak up. Tell us all. But I think this is pretty interesting. So can we make maybe a tentative plan to spend some time going through this and talking through these issues?
Yeah, definitely. Mida, I know if you want to send me a link to this or
yeah, I wasn't sure where to copy it. Like I don't know what location you want me to put it in. Should I just put it in?
I think there's like work in progress or something. I'll email you. How about that?
There's a scenarios folder too. So
yes, that's true. That's where it should go.
if this is a scenario, then we should. I would recommend the scenarios folder.
It is. I think that's good place. Let's put it in scenario folder.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the scenario is under work in progress. There's a folder called scenarios.
Okay, I'll look for that. Yeah.
And then if we end up like one very likely outcome is that we come up with some recommendations for PCIe. If that were to happen, then we need to stop the discussion, assign some companies that are members of the PCIe SIG to go follow the PCIe ECR process. We're just going to do it the normal PCIe SIG way. If there are recommendations for our infrastructure, then we can use the scenario discussion to help us improve the way we've implemented our infrastructure. And then the other thing I'm hoping we get out is maybe we can list some best practices for how do we configure PCIe in this document? We walk through the scenarios and say, okay, you know, it works better if you do this. And that will be useful, and we can get more people aligned to gathering the same error data, make it easier to analyze.
So I assume that this is related with PCA devices that you're connecting to a PLX switch, right?
I mean, it could be any switch. You know, I mean, PLX is a brand name, right?
Agreed.
It could be
It
broad.
doesn't need to be-
A PCA switch, yes.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be connected to a switch. It could be this endpoint here, which is connected directly to root port. So it doesn't need to be, this was just for illustrative purposes.
But do you get to see such amount of missing information if it's an endpoint directly connected to the PCA root?
Yeah, advisory non-fatal errors currently do end up not having, well, there'll be missing information regardless of whether we're talking about endpoint 3 or endpoint 2. I only did this to illustrate the various detecting agent roles, but the ANF pain points can be felt no matter, you know, whether it's an endpoint, an upstream port, downstream port, root port, any component.
Joshua, it depends on how you configure the error as a advisory non-fatal, or is a configuration register. So it can be endpoint directly connected to root port or switch.
And so I think this is going to be a really productive discussion, because I think you know, I need to learn some things here. So yeah, anyway, these are great questions, Joshua, and I think that as we dig into it, hopefully we'll all understand the holes better. Because advisory non-fatal is super confusing. Every time I look at it, I think I understand it, and then I realize I don't. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mita. This is awesome, and you're further along actually than I expected. So this is awesome. I mean, so if it's okay with you all, let's plan on doing this again next week.
Yep, sounds good. And I'll copy it in to the scenarios folder.
Thank you,
Well,
Nita.
You, bye all.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a great Friday, and
Yeah.
well, great weekend, and we'll talk to you all next week.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. See you.
Bye. Have a good weekend.
Next week is next long weekend, right?
Oh, is it? Is it Labor Day weekend or something?
Labor Day weekend is next week or later?
It actually is next week. And I'm out for 3 weeks after that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Well, you said yes, Mita.
I said yes for next week. I didn't realize, that it was the long weekend, but I am out until September 19th after that.
All right, so you
I
travel.
thought Labor Day's the first though. So why don't we talk Friday and see if we can make any progress, and then if we don't get quorum, we don't get quorum. I don't know. I mean, if
I'd love to just take this a little forward before I leave, and then.
Yeah, I think let's plan on that. Even if you end up canceling, we can meet off. I mean, a smaller group or something.
well, maybe we can figure out what we're going to do next Friday for the next few weeks while you're out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have
Thank
yours
you.
too, so we can go on other scenarios then.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.